Guys, so welcome back to the channel, and today in this video we're going to be building an awesome user interface. Alright, so what we're going to be doing specifically is actually going to be creating this guy. So when you look at what we have right now, I don't know if you check what if the Facebook you have on your phone, maybe it might not really be the same. So this is a kind of redesign that someone created, and I find it interesting because it incorporates some kind of complexities that I would want to share with you guys. Alright, so it has these multiple tabs, which is just regular home button navigations that you actually have in your app. Maybe we've done something like this in our previous video, the manager application, right? So you can look at what we have. So it has this row, which is the story row, and then it has kind of this border here that shows that this particular video or this particular story is not viewed yet. And then it had the regular feed. These are the regular posts that somebody made, right? So this is very much familiar. Right, and then it has the comment section where you can actually make a new post. And then if you go to the Reels tab, so this is one of the most interesting part of this tutorial, because if you check out all the apps you have in your phone right now, like all the social media apps like TikTok, even YouTube, the YouTube Short has this kind of fields as well. And then you can also find that in Instagram. So all these general fields is kind of a new trending structures that social medias that actually have more videos and content sharing has, you know, because it gives you like all the widgets to be able to actually socialize, share, like, comment in the same flow. All right, so by the end of the video you're going to be actually build this particular type of structure. All right, so this is what we have in these two screens, and this is the two screens we're going to be building. Let me quickly share with you the content I found that actually inspired this particular video. I found that should be on Dribble or Behance, but you're going to find a link in the description in case you want to see the real content. So, but this is it here. So I get a screenshot of that particular project, and all credit goes to the person that actually designed it. You're going to also find that in the link in the description. So right now you can see we have here these feeds and reels in the home screen. Like if you click on the reels, you can see this is what we're trying to kind of clone. All right, so when you look at what we have here, you can see that we have the shared user icon, and then this particular icon you can tap to actually create new reels. You can also comment on the reels. So if you see the feed has like all the flow that you already have generally. So by the end of the day, you're going to actually learn how to create these complex UIs, and it's going to be a very important tool in your development journey. So I actually also modeled the data that actually helps us to achieve this. I think this is one of the most longest part of this video, so you wouldn't really need to worry about that particular part because I already modeled that. So it's only you're just gonna join along the line and follow along the line, all right? And it's gonna take us, it's gonna reduce the amount of time we're supposed to actually spend trying to model the data ourselves. So that being said, we're going to quickly jump into that part now. But if this is your first time to the channel, don't forget to like this video, comment, all right, and share as well, because it's going to actually help the algorithm to recommend us to other users that are actually looking for such content, and it's going to encourage us to also create more nice videos like this if this is helpful to you. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell, because I always going to be posting something interesting, something very nice that actually going to help us in the development journey. So let's quickly jump into the code now. All right, guys, so just a quick recap again for you to actually follow through. Assuming you want to actually clone this repository, like I've actually said, there are two ways you can actually do that. You can actually do that by doing that from your command prompt or your terminal, right? You know the location of your project and where you normally work on your project. So all you need to do is just do git clone. All right, when you do git clone, you need to copy the URL of the repository. And how do you do that? You need to come here and copy this. So right, I'm not going to really run this now, but what I'm trying to do is like to show you where you need to do that. So assuming this is your particular location that you normally work at, you need to do git clone, and then you paste the URL, and then what branch do you want to actually take now? You need to take the branch starter branch, all right, like this, and you can actually check it out in a new folder in this location. So I could probably just call it app, and then you could hit enter, and then you should be able to clone exactly the starter branch down to your machine, and then you can actually continue working from there. This is a good way to do it, you know, to be able to grab that particular specific brand that I talked about before. Or you could also just copy this branch, this repository entirely like this, and in your Android Studio, like we used to do, you simply need to just do a new project from version control. All right, and then you should be able to paste the URL here. The only difference with this approach is that once you do with this format, then you need to actually clone everything entirely, and then you can point yourself back to this particular branch. This branch is always the default branch, so you could always, but in case if you're using Android Studio or using VS Code, you should be able to know where you're actually located at that point. So you always check out here if it's your Android Studio, or you can check out the VS Code and know the branch you're actually working in the left pane. So this is how actually to get this guy up, and then you can continue working from there. So right now we're actually on the code. So this is just the Bootstrap application that we have normally, right? So like once you actually create a new Flutter application, you normally have this Bootstrap code that have the counter app. So I've already removed that and then just renamed the placeholder to Facebook navigation host. All right, now that's just actually a renaming because this is going to hold our navigation, return navigation, but that we're actually going to be used. All right, if you've actually watched the last video creating a money manager application, this is not going to be kind of strange or new to you. All right, so just what we have here is just like a bare bone stuff, nothing really serious. So if you see what it's actually on the app, just this plain text. This is Fix Lab, right? So nothing serious on this one. So I'm going to quickly walk you through other short things that are in the repository so that you can actually start following along the video, just like I said before. So I'm going to straight up walk to the constants. The constants is just like few things that I felt is going to really reduce the amount of time we actually do when we're doing a repetitive task. So I have the default spacer just to help us actually create spacing that is equal and always consistent, and then also the border radius. Then I have this app background color just for us to actually have kind of consistent background, as the case may be. Then I have this vertical spacing, horizontal spacing. Sometimes you might not really use all of them, but there are situations where we actually need to have kind of very consistent kind of naming, so that we don't need to keep repeating these edging sets all the time. All right, and then I have the space widget as well. This is actually going to be useful as well because of the kind of things we'll be doing. We need to be giving different type of spacing depending on where we want to use that. So that's for the constant. And then also in the app theme, I have the app theme, which is what I referenced in the main.dat, and then it has the colors that we want our app bar to have, which is like a white background color. The elevation is 0. The icon theme. Also, all the icons are going to be black by default. All right, the title colors are going to be default for the app bar. All right, this is just the need for theming, so that we don't need to specify those things as well by ourselves. Then the primary color is the gray color. Text button color is this. Then the button navigation theme has these colors as well. The background is white. The selected item color is going to be blue accent, and then the unselected is going to be blue, black 38. Then the input decoration theme for the input that we're going to be using. All right, we already styled it to have this kind of border, outline border, and then the value, you can see that we are using the default radius now, which is actually from the constant, and also when it's focused, we also use the default value as well. Now the most important part of here is this particular model. All right, so if you look at what I have here, you can see I have user. And I actually created these based on what I found in the stuff I showed you before. All right, so when you look at this, I tried to model this information from the UI. What I did was to find that I could have the user online. That's why you can have a boolean. It's online. The user ID necessarily not much needed, but I just have to put it in case. And then there's the username, right? And then I have the profile URL, which is what I'm actually using to represent the guy's profile picture, like this one. And then there's stories, so with like a list of stories, because if you look at this, these are like list, all right, of stories. And then post, because the post is actually going to be a chain of post feeds, So that's why I have to present it in a list. And then the rails could also be list of rails, but right now in this particular tutorial, I actually have just one single rail, even though it's in a kind of list, all right? So because this guy can also be swiped to find the next rail, all right? So that's what we have here. And then, generally initialize them. I made a few of them to be required and others can be omitted. Then in the story as well, I have user ID, I have the story photo, and then I have the story profile URL. So if you look at the story, I'm using the smaller one to represent the user profile photo URL, and then I'm using the story photo to be the big one that the user should actually view. So that's for the story. And also the story has a viewed status. That actually helped us to know whether we should add the border to show that this guy is not viewed yet. So that's the need for this boolean viewed, right? And you can see that by default I initialize it to true, meaning that most of them is going to have the viewed state. That means it's going to be without border, and other ones, the one that is false is going to have this particular icon. So this is just me trying to model this to actually conform to what I want to achieve in the video, right? So that being said, you can see on the post part, I have like author name, author avatar. So if you look at the post, this is a single post. You have the author avatar, the author name, and then the post photo is this one, and then the post content is not really visible because there's no much text around the post for now. And then the post like count, which is going to be the count of the likes, and then you also see we have the time of post, and then the comments count, which is what we have here, and the shares. I don't think I missed out shares here, this one, all right, but I just prefixed it with some values. You can actually understand how that happened, all right? So that's for the post. And then the next thing I want to share with you is the reel. The reel is this part of the particular UI. So if you look at it, you have the comment count, which is this one. You have the like count, which is on top, and then you have the share count, which is this one, and then you have the video URL, which is the video itself. All right. So you can see how I modeled that, and then I have created some of the list of these items now, because you can see I have a list of stories, which is what was supplied when we're creating an instance of this user. So we need to have, because each of these, for us to create an instance of this user, we need to have a list of these individual objects. So if you see here, I have some list of stories, and then I'm picking the images from Pixabay. So Pixabay is kind of a very useful video sharing and image sharing platform. You can actually grab videos and even audios as well. So I picked some of these informations there to model the list of stories with just a few things that I found that is super necessary in each of those objects. The rails, I created the rails. I have this as a comment count 55, like count, shared count, and then the video URL you can see here. Then I have also the list of posts, which is like a multiple instances of the post. And I actually have added some few that I also felt they actually needed. So these are generally the data you have to keep following along. And then I finally created the data. So I call it user data, and I'm returning an instance of the user. And I'm now reusing some of those things I already created, which is the post and the stories and the reel. So I'm using just a single reel now. That's why I'm actually using just one instance of the reel in this reels list. So this user data is actually what we're going to be using in our app. So that, guys, that being said now, so let me quickly show you the repository. So if you click on the description, you're going to find it's going to take you to this place. So this is where you need to actually grab this code. Now once you grab this code, you're going to be at the same level as I am right now. You're going to have everything that is here. If you click on this one, you're going to have, make sure you're actually pointing to the starter branch of the project, which is normally the default. All right, so you have everything ready. So all you need is just to put down this repository from there. All right, enough of that now. So we're going to continue. So the first thing we need to do right now is to create the folders that we need. I think we already have like data folder and utils folder. The next folder that I need to create is the screens and the widget folder. So I'm quickly going to do that now. So I'm going to create widgets, and I'm also going to create a new folder called screens. So after you've created the screen folder, I think we already have the utils folder already and have the data folder, which is the first thing I walked you through. So having these two stuffs now, we can actually go ahead and start creating. The next thing that we need to create right now in the widget folder is we need to actually take this guy to a new particular location. All right, so I think we're going to do that on the screen part. Go to the screen, and then we're going to really create one thing that I need to create right now is this app host. All right, so let's do that. So we're going to call this build app body. All right, so this is going to be a widget that we're going to return here based on the particular index that it has. So I'm going to do current index, and it's going to be current index. So this current index, you actually have to create it. So we need to create this function. So let's go ahead and create the function up here. Okay guys, so we have this this is just for us to be able to return a particular body here. So the next thing we're going to be doing is to actually set up our the button navigation bar right now. So we're going to have button navigation bar. So how do we achieve that? We're going to also create a different widget that will actually enable us to build the button navigation bar. So we're going to do it outside this place. So the next thing we need to do is to add the current index. The current index actually holds the particular active tab at the moment. So I'm going to do the current index. Remember, we actually defined the current index on top of this place. So it's going to hold the current index. The next thing we need to do is to also show selected label. We're going to turn the show selected label false. We don't want to have a label below the icons like we have. All right, the reason is because the design doesn't really show. Even when you have the active guy, it's not really showing the labels there. So that's why I want to do that. The next thing we want to do is to actually add the untapped. All right, the untapped is one of the key properties of this, and this untapped takes an index. It takes an integer. All right, it's going to return for us a particular item that is tapped on that point. So that will actually enable us to use that current index to be able to take decisions to know the kind of views that we're going to return to the screen. So I think once we actually add that, now we could be able to test this on the screen to see if we have something worth viewing. So let's go ahead and call set state. So set state is going to actually help us make changes to this current index. Current index is a variable that is currently 0 at default, meaning that it's going to show the default screen that we have. And because this is supposed to be tappable, so people can actually tap on these icons, all right, to switch to the next screen. We need to use set state to be able to actually tell it to update the UI to be able to show what active screen it is at that point. So set state, and then we're going to call that our current index, which was 0 at that time is going to be the index that was returned for us from this very particular view, this particular tapping event. So that's all we really need to do for this place. Before we run the app again, we might need to probably just add something to these containers, so at least we can actually see something. So I'm going to add text here, child of text. I'm going to do home screen. All right, just that for now. Yeah, it's actually complaining about the container, but that's not a problem. So let's leave it that way. And then let's pull up our simulator again, and let's go ahead and run the app again right now. See that the app is running now. If you take a look down here, you can see that we have the bottom navigation up already. You can see we have this home active right now. You can see that we have videos, all right, and you see we also can switch to these very different menus, right? So we've actually achieved that. Then if you also look at the home screen, you can also see that there's this a text somewhere here, all right? This text is hidden because probably we're using container, and container is not really wrapped with probably a safe area, and that's why it's pushing somewhere up the screen. All right, but at least the goal is actually to set up this one, and we've actually achieved that. So the next thing we're going to be doing is, like I said, we're going to be building the app bar. So let's go ahead and do that next now. So okay, so we have that updated. So the next thing we need to do is to add the actions. The action is going to have the search bar and the profile action. If you look at the image again, you can see we have the search and this one. So let's quickly add the action on the app bar. Are you not imported? Sorry, that seems like this guy is not imported then. The profile URL. Yes. That's just all I wanted from you. So let me know why it's still complaining. So there seems to be a const up here, so we don't need that const. So let's quickly add a const to the padding. And that's it for this. So before we close this part, let's add an error builder to this image view, because there are situations probably where we don't have an image returned for us. So this error builder is going to really help to display something else on the screen. So we're going to use context. Maybe stack trace to show. So let's return just a container, right? What do you return here? All right, let's just return the same circular avatar. No circle avatar with a background color of white. So that's gonna be it for this one. Let's close. This is supposed to be a return statement because the builder, you need to return something for the builder. So that's, let's quickly add const to the. All right, so let's go ahead and save and see what we have on the screen. All right, guys, you can see we have something coming up a little bit. Yeah, there's something still remaining. We need to also wrap this very avatar with padding, all right, and be able to give it a little bit space from the right side, just like we did from here. So let's quickly click on that and wrap it with padding, and then on the edges set all, we are going to return how do we do that? Okay, I think we need to do it individually because we already have right spacing here, so I think we're just going to apply it only to the right and to the top somehow, maybe. So let's start with edge set.only, and then I'm going to do right. Let's see. Okay, so we have that. So and we need to add to the top. The reason is because once we're going to be adding something else here, we're going to be adding that. Remember, that's circle. If you look at the preview again, you can see we have this green stuff. So that's the next thing we will need to do now. So I just wanted you to first of all see how we were able to achieve the circle. Then I now introduce a way we can actually make the other thing to work. So for us to achieve that now, we need to wrap this whole very circle or avatar with something else. We need to wrap it with a stack. Stack is actually the key takeaway in this very tutorial. By the end of this tutorial, you should be able to actually learn how to use stack a lot of times in your project, because stack enables us to actually achieve high complexities in UIs. So that's what we're going to be doing here. Most of the key stuff that we did here is actually using stacks to achieve that. So I'm going to wrap this with a column. The reason I'm doing column is because column is one of the things that is actually in the shortcuts. So when I use column, it's going to return something with children, and that's how stack comes. So I can just easily rename this to stack. All right, so automatically right now this is stack. So if I refresh the screen, you wouldn't see much changes except that something is going to be pushed up. All right, you can see it's pushed up now because of the stack. So that's the reason why we need to update this guy and make top to also have a value for, let's say, be like 8 as well. So I'm going to save and let's see. All right, so you can see the alignment. So for me to do that now, I need to add a container as a sibling to this padding. Remember, the padding is holding the circle. So below this, the padding, I'm going to have a container. We finally got it at 10, right? 10 and bottom 10. So everything is kind of seen together right now in a good position. So if we check if you check on the preview again, you can see we probably get something very close to what we have originally here. All right, guys. So that's just this for this one. All right. And the next thing we're going to be doing is creating the tabs. All right. The tabs is the next thing we're going to be creating. So we're going to be creating these tabs. These tabs is what is going to really hold the two UIs, the rails and the feet. All right, so that's the next thing we're going to be doing now. So I hope you understand. Let me just quickly walk through this one again. What we really did here was an app bar that has a title. So if I go back to the simulator, so you have an app bar that has a title, which is Facebook, and then it has an action. Actions are actually the menu items that you have. All right, so and then we'll have this icon search, and then we'll have a stack. The stack enables us to put stuff on top of each, and the reason for that stack was this very item we used to show whether it's online or it's not online. And before we end for this one, we need to add a little bit of conditional statement here. The reason is because if you check in the data, there was this data field that if you went through that, this is online, and then if you check in the users, in the text that we define here, you can see that we have is online true. So we need to be able to show that value only when the online value is true. I just felt it's okay for us to do that right now without really so you can actually see how that works, because if we're actually making a real request from the API, this data is going to come that way. So we shouldn't just statically show this value if it's not online. So I'm going to do a loop conditional statement here. So I'm going to do if user data dot is online. All right, so what we're trying to do is, like, we want to say if the user data is online, that is actually when we want to show this very value. Now I want you to watch the screen and see when I negate that verification, because if user data is online, show position stuff, and then you can see it's actually showing here. Now that's because by default it's already, but let me just try to inverse it. If not online, you can see that the online active stuff have disappeared. All right, so I'm trying to say if it's not online, show this, but that's not what I actually intended. So I'm going to remove this. It means that it's only going to show that particular stuff here because of the value is online. So if I went back to the data and changed it to false, it's not going to have that active. So it's important that we understand this particular scenario here. All right, guys, and that's it for the menu bar. We've done with the menu bar. We've done with this button navigation bar. So the next we need to do is to build the stack, the tabs. The tabs is actually what is going to enable us to create the feed and the rails. So that's what we're going to be doing next now. All right, so let's work on the home screen here. So if you remember, we have a default container that is being returned here. So let's quickly return something quite better that we're going to create now. So here we're going to return home screen tab, and in this home screen tab we're going to need to create that very UI inside here. So outside of this place, let's create a stateless widget. Is that? Yeah, let's create a stateless widget. So I'm going to do stateless home screen tab. I'm actually calling it home screen tab because there's home screen, right? And then this is a tab, and inside that we can define whatever we want to define. So let me go ahead and make sure that it's not returning error right now for this one. So I think it's kind of looking for const value. And let's give it that grace, and then let's start building on this one. So the next thing we need to have here is we need to define like a size box, because we want this feed to have a certain length. All right, so we need to give it a height. So I need to, instead of using a container here, I'm going to use a size box, and then the size box is going to have certain item inside. All right, so let's do a child first. The child is going to be a tab controller, so I'm going to do a default tab controller. All right, and the default tab controller, we're going to give it the length of 2 because we want only tab that have 2 items, which is the rails and the feeds. All right, and the child for that default tab controller is going to be a scaffold that has an app bar, right? And this app bar has an elevation of 0, and then you have a 2 bar height of 0 as well. And then it has, what else? Yeah, then it has a bottom attribute, and this bottom attribute is where we're going to put our tab bar widget. So the tab bar is actually what is going to hold the tabs that we are going to be returning at the end of the day. All right, so let me format so you can see. So it's going to have tabs. I'm going to just call these tabs as it is, so I can actually define them on top of this place. So let's quickly define this list of tabs. So I'm going to call it tabs like we have is equals to a list, and let's close this one. Let me format again. So tabs. All right, so I'm going to quickly add something here. So first of all is to wrap this guy with put a text here, and the first one is going to have a value of feeds. We're going to actually update these items later to probably have a little formatting. So the next thing we're going to have here is going to be Rails. All right, so you can see that we don't have errors in this place now because we've been able to put some kind of object inside. So I think let me quickly just wrap it with a padding. So wrap with padding. The padding is going to have kind of symmetric. So we're going to do symmetric, and vertical is going to be the value, and I'm going to do just exactly what we had before. Not really, just let me do the default spacing. Default spacer by 2 because I want it to have a value of 8. My default space is actually 16. Alright, so I'm going to remove this const now. Probably put the const in the padding. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing to the Rails. So for speed, I'm just going to copy and paste and update the text. So let's go ahead and remove this guy. So Rails. Something is wrong. I didn't do the copying well. So I think I pasted it in the wrong place. Let's update quickly with Rails. All right, so what did we do here? We created a stateless widget that has size box, and then it has a child of default tab controller. That tab controller is what enables us to have a control of this place. And then on the bottom, the child is actually a scaffold that enables us to have app bar, and because an app bar has a bottom attribute, we're using the tab bar on top of it. All right, so the next thing we need to do now is we have the app bar already, we need to have
app bar view is going to be part of this app bar, right? Just like we have part of the scaffold. So just right after the app bar, we're going to add that here. So it's going to be a body attribute, and then we're going to put the tab bar view there. So this is just exactly what we need to do. The body is going to have a tab bar view, and the tab bar view is going to have these two stuff, feed content tab and then the reuse content tab. These two stuff is going to actually be what we will use to populate these designs here. So the feed content tab is going to hold all the views for this, and then the reuse is going to hold this. So let's quickly just jump into the directories in the tabs folder. We're going to define this very UI. So let's go ahead and define a new. The first one is going to be feed content tab, and let's quickly do a stateless widget there. So we're going to make sure that we're using the exact name. So we're going to do feed content tab, and let's quickly import material using the shortcut. All right, that will be it for this. Let's close, go back and import it, and then let's go again and also copy this one and then define the Reels content tab here as well. That Reels content tab, and let's quickly do a stateless widget as well, and then let's paste that thing here. Let's also import material, and then let's go back here and import. Alright, once we do that, we are probably just going to need to add a const to this for now. We're going to modify that later when we start building out. So let's quickly just run again and see that nothing breaks. So we're not actually supposed to see anything right now because we just build the content. So the next thing we're going to be doing is actually trying to create some other widget component that we actually use to build the Reels, because the Reels is the first thing we're going to be building. So from the reference, we're going to be building other components here. So that's what we're going to be doing next. Let's jump into that.
Okay, so let's quickly start by organizing these very widgets. So we're going to create different widgets that represent these guys. So in the widget screen, I'm going to go ahead and create all the possible widgets that we're going to have. All right, both for the feed and both for the Reels. Currently, we're actually on the Reels, so I'm going to go ahead and create All right, so in the Reels tab screen, yeah, this is where everything is going to actually start building up, because we need to be able to have the roots. All right, so let's quickly, first of all, we need to have a kind of view that spreads all over. All right, the view that is going to spread all over the screen to form this background. You understand that? And that's the only way we can actually achieve this. And also remembering that we have a lot of widgets that is actually on top of each other, so that makes a good choice for us to use a stack. So in this place, I'm going to probably wrap this guy with a stack. So I'm going to do a column and I'm going to change the name to stack. All right, so having that, now the next thing I need to build would be the backdrop. I need to build the backdrop. The backdrop is going to be a widget that represents this one that is filled up in the screen. So how do I do that? I'm going to do that outside the widget here. I'm going to So let's go ahead and add the URL of the image. So that's what I was trying to get, user data. User data. Let's go ahead and import now. Let's see if that works. So user data dot, actually we're looking for Rails. So Rails is where we're going to get that, and we're going to just pick the first index. So I'm just going to do Rails.first, and then I'm going to get the first video URL. All right. Yeah, because this is actually nullable, I need to do some kind of nullability. All right, so that is up right now. So what else do I need to do? I need to build the arrow widget as well. If you see, there's an arrow widget here. So let me quickly do that as well here. Just hard to reload, and fingers crossed, because until you get a result, anything can happen, right? So let's see how that goes to run. It's happening. Collapse these ones, and let's switch to Rails and see what we have. Oh yeah, something happened. So you can see we have this back arrow there, except that our image is not filling up. So this is what we have, and let's quickly update because we need to have a color to this very arrow. So let's add a color here, colors the white. All right guys, so that's it for this one. And then the next thing we're going to be doing is building this particular widget that is here. All right, so remember in our folder we created this top user actions. So we're going to open up that now and then start populating that particular widget. So it's going to be a stateless widget as well. So I'm going to call it Let me go ahead and import. Seems you need some little bit of const. So I'll save it. You can see that this has appeared here. Yeah, the reason is because we really need to wrap it in a position widget before we can actually get it to the position we want. But before that, let's quickly go back to the top widget. Like I said before, after the padding, which is the icon of search, I need to add a widget called, let me do photo avatar widgets. So we need to define that later. So photo avatar widget is going to have a name parameter of photo URL. So the essence of this is so that we can actually reuse this very actually we're going to be able to reuse the avatar because it's going to be actually used in multiple places. So I'm going to do user data as well, because user data is still where we can actually get the profile URL. Right now, because of this guy is not created, so I'm going to quickly create a new widget inside our place that will move this we're going to move this information inside, so it's going to accept. So let's create it quickly right now. So we're going to get back to this one, user avatar widget. So let's do stateless user avatar widget. Import material, and then let's quickly define some attributes of this. So most importantly, it's going to have a photo URL, final string photo URL. We are going to have an optional height and weight, but we're going to actually have like a fallback. So I'm going to do height final double width. All right, so it's also going to be nullable. So let's add final fields. It's only the photo URL that is kind of required. All right, so if you go back to this place, we can be able to import user So the user avatar is going to be so we need to update this one as well. But so let's quickly check this. Right, we can import this now. Let's try that. Alright, seems some. Yeah, I used the wrong thing. This is photo avatar, so we're gonna make the change. All right, so let's go back and do the import. Okay, so user data, we need to import user data right now. User data.photo. Let's remove the const value here. All right, so we can save and see. So right now we have this. So let's work on this because there's nothing in the content of the image yet. So you can see that we have search, but we've not updated the photo URL to actually have all the information that you need to have. So that's what we're going to be updating now, so that we can actually align it in the by the right side here. All right, so this is what we have here. I think that's just all we needed for this one. Let's save, and then let's go back to the place where we called it, and you can see we have that avatar up here right now. If you check our preview, you see that we have avatar and then the search. So we've been able to get it out here. All right, so we need to now go back to the main. Yeah, we're already at the row, so we have padding with the search, and then we have the avatar. So the next thing we need to do is to include the next icon, or the next object that is actually in that axis. So how do we do that? So let's quickly work on that now. Because we're already on a row, we've been able to do the container. Let's take a look again. Container. All right, so I'm going to wrap this guy with a complete row right now. The reason is because both this guy is in a row of its own, wrapped inside this container. So there needs to be another row that will enable us to have the other guys stacked from left to right. If you take a look at the preview, you can see this guy is in a row, and also they are also in another row here. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I need to wrap this one with a row. away from this back arrow a little bit. So I'm going to do positioned and the chart is going to be this guy. And this const, let's take the const to here. All right, so in the position, I'm going to have a top of about let's say 10. So I want to kind of pull it down. Let's do 40. Okay, that's a little better. So we keep updating that. Let's get back to the user action page. So here we are going to update this content, right? We need to get this guy up and also spread him out. So let's save and see. So this is actually sorted out now. What we needed was to make sure that we don't have we actually restricting it but from the left and from the right. We don't need to do anything on the bottom because we already pushed it a little bit from the top with the 40 spacing. You can see that from here already. So that being done, now let's quickly jump into the next part. The next part we're going to be doing is the comment section, right? And that will take us to the Rails comment section here, which we already created, but there's nothing inside it. If you look at the preview again, you can see we have something that actually in a row-like format. So we have the image, which is the profile avatar, and then the name. And if you also look at the name, you can see that here we have a row-like format also, because these two guys are actually sitting from left to right. And then you also see that this one is sitting in a column-like format, meaning that this guy is on top of each other. So I just want you to get a concept of when you're creating UIs like this. You know when to actually apply rows and know where to apply columns. All right, so the overall here is a row that has another row and then also in a column format. So that's the structure we're going to be following up right now. So let's quickly get into this one. So guys, that's it. That's what we have. And let's check back on the preview and see if we're close. You can see we have these guys, we have the comments, we have everything now. If you check what we have here, you can see that that is what exactly we were able to achieve. All right. So this is what we did in this very particular flow. So first of all, we started with this provide avatar. This profile avatar used to be an individual avatar like we had when we're actually creating this one. So in case if you missed out on this, I'm trying to like kind of remember if I missed out taking this out to a separate file. So but you should always find that in your, if it's not existing in your project, like if you go to this place and you can't find user avatar, I think this is where we did it, you could just pause the video and take a look at this file. All right, it's just a quite small file that have a clip rect on it. We're going to still get back to this place to actually work on what we're going to be working on the stories. We're still going to add a different type of profile avatar here that will handle the stories view. All right, so you could just add this if you are missing out on this particular one that if you cannot find the profile avatar here like we have here, just pause the video and then grab it from there and then continue. So the next thing we're going to be doing is building this particular section, which is the floating part. If you check the preview, you can see we have this stack of widgets. So it's going to be like in a kind of two section. First of all, we're going to be building the inner one that will take an icon and the text. And at the end of the day, we're going to stack it in a particular order that will be displayed here. So that's what we're going to be doing next. So that's all for now. So we're going to jump into that one next. So let's go ahead and create the stacked widget. Like I said, we're going to be creating that in this place. So we're going to start with the floating widget. The floating widget is actually what we have in the preview. If you check out the preview, we have these small icons and text. So that will form the overall stack widget here.
Guys, so let's continue. So we're done with this floating widget. The floating widget is going to actually hold these guys. So the next thing we need to do is to build out the stack widget. The stack widget is actually where we're going to plug in this individual stuff. So let's jump into that. I think we already made that widget, bro. It's kind of bare bone empty. So it's just going to be probably had this container, but if you don't find it in the widget folder, then you can just create the stack widget, just pure container, and then we can expand from that. So how we're going to do that? First of all, let's start with adding some key variables that we're going to take. So we're going to first of all take the likes, all right, because we should be able to plug in these likes and the shares and everything into this place. So do a final string likes and also a final string shares. The last one is going to be comments, right? So it's still going to be strings, string comment. All right, so now let's build out a widget. But first of all, before we do that, let's make this guy to have this as the constructors. Yeah, and it's going to be required because we actually need it to make sure that everything is plugged in, so it's needed. Now what I need to return here, I don't want to return directly the container. So what I want to do is to return a pre-made widget function that returns a particular kind of returning container basically. So I'm going to call it build vertical stack, right? So build vertical stack. So the build vertical stack is a function, right? But it's kind of returns a kind of container, right? So it's going to take a parameter of list of widget. So a list of widget. So list of widget, and I'm going to call it children. All right, and then inside that now we're going to return a container. So let's quickly return a container. This container is further going to have a child of columns, right? So let's do child, and child is going to be column regular. You know, column have children, but the children is going to be the value that was now provided here. I think we have a little typo, children. All right, so that would be the end of this one. Our container, we need to add something to it so it doesn't really complain. I need to have kind of a margin around it. So let's do margin edge insert dot symmetric. Let's do only edge insert only. I need to have only the right side, right? So that I can push it out somewhere around the screen. So I'm going to use that default spacer, default spacing that we have, right? Default space. So let's quickly import it, and this guy need a const because I'm passing a constant to it. So that's it for this. All right, so what we did was we actually created a kind of custom widget here, build vertical stack. All right, so and build vertical stack is going to take children. All right, and then inside that children is actually a container. All right, wrapped in it is actually a container. Inside the function takes a list of children, which is actually a container itself, but it has a column inside. So the children that is passed to it is what we're actually going to use to make up the columns, right? Now, what we needed to do is to continue to finish it up. So eventually we're going to now return this very build here. So how do we do that? So let's return build let's return build vertical stack here. All right, and then the children is going to be a list. All right, and then this is where we're going to now plug in the last stuff we did, which is the floating widget. Yeah, if you remember, we just jumped off that. So let's do this is what we're going to be building here. So we're going to plug that in. So return, we're going to be adding that individually. So floating widget. Floating widget. So let's go ahead. This floating. Let's copy that. So what's the complaint about? Yeah, we need to import it. So once we import, remember that this guy has some attributes. So we're going to add the attributes now. It takes two attributes. One is an icon. I'm going to change this later because we're going to use a different type of icon. So, but let's add the second attribute. The second attribute is second attribute of the one is label, but I don't think the label is not required. So, but we'll still need to add it. All right. So that's one. And then before we continue, we need to also import something here. So we're going to import package. The package we want to import is actually package. So I think we have line icons. Yeah, we need these uni icons because that's what we're going to be using here to populate these icons instead of the regular icons here. So the first icon is going to be the like icon, right? So let's import that unicorn line. Unicorn. Yeah, unicorn line dot thumbs up. Right, so the label is going to be likes. Right, so I'm going to quickly do a copy and paste to make this faster. So we're going to duplicate it like extra 4 times. The second one is going to be comment. The next one is going to be shares, right? And that's it. All right, so the remaining two, which is going to be these two icons now, this horizontal more icon and this particular user icon. So let's quickly just add that, but this time around we're going to omit these very labels. Remember when we're building that, we made this optional. So let's do copy and paste again. All right, that actually makes this complete. So let's quickly change up the icons for this one. So we're going to do icon line.comment. And then unicorn line.share. Okay, so that's it for this, and I think that's all we need to do here. So the next thing we're going to be doing is to actually take this guy into the screen, the part of the screen where this is going to now appear. All right, because what we have so far is just this. We've not actually brought it to the screen. So that's the next thing we're going to be doing, is to bring it to the screen so that it can actually be visible, and then we can be able to position it correctly. So let's do that next. Quickly go into the next place. We need to get into this Rails tab to actually make sure that this is real. So in the real screen, first of all, let's rerun the app now and see. First of all, let's plug it here, and then we can be able to run the app to make sure that everything shows up. So we need to bring in the guy. So we're going to call in position widget. Position widget is going to take a child. And what child is it going to take now? So it's supposed to take this, the last stuff we created. This one. So it's going to take this guy. So let's quickly head back to the content tab and then make real stack widget is what it's going to take as child. Alright, so what do we do next? We need to be able to provide all the attributes that we need for this guy. So first of all, the likes, the shares, the comments, and then let's add it, let's make it const. We're definitely going to remove the const because once we start plugging in the dynamic variables, the const is going to be a problem. So how do we get access to these values? Remember, we have our user data, so we're going to do user data, which is already here. Then we're going to do let's import that in case. Yeah, let's remove the const. I know. So user data dot we need to add interpolations around here. So let's do user data dot what are we plugging in here? We're plugging in the Rails. So the Rails actually has a single item in it. So we're going to do that first, and then the likes now, because like count. So but we need to end the like count with something else. So I think we need to because of nullability, we need to add that particular more safe thing, and then we need to add here k, just like likes, something like that, maybe like number of counts and stuff like that. So I'm quickly just going to do a copy and paste and quickly make those changes. So I'm going to hold shift and then option if you're actually on the Android Studio Mac. Then I'm going to do a paste there, and I'm going to make changes quickly to this one. So this one is supposed to have shares, share count, and then comment count. So that's basically what we need to do here. Let's quickly run, and you can see that it shows up already, but it seems there's an issue. Okay, yeah, if we go back to the guy, probably we did not change something, and if you can guess, it's in these icons, I believe. So here it's supposed to be more horizontal, so more. So I think we're going to use normal icons now. Icons dot more horizontal. All right, and then the last one is going to be let me try a user here. If there's a user, let's save and see what we have. Yeah, probably gonna do that now. That's okay. So let's head back to this place and then add some position attributes. So first of all, we're going to be doing is a bottom to be 0, and then right. All right, we're going to do right. Okay, right 0, bottom. We might need to push it a little bit up. So but first of all, let's save and see. You can see that it's 2 down, so we're going to make bottom to be 20, and let's see what we have. So perfect, we have this guy up. Right now I think there's something missing. We're not seeing the case. All right, so let's find out why that's happening. Yeah, that's the debugging that we need to do. We set it up first, the like count. Does it mean that values are not showing up? Alright, yeah, if you can guess that. So we're actually making this guy strings, which is wrong. We're supposed to pass these values here, so that's where we had a challenge. So this is supposed to be like, which is a like from the variable, right? So I think it's likes somewhere. Yeah, likes. Right, and comments. So let's go ahead and remove all the const stuff. So this is going to be shares. All right, let's quickly save and let's see what we have. All right, guys, so we see we have this guy perfectly laid out. 15K, 55, 2.6, then we have user, and everything is well arranged now. So that's actually what we have on this part. And let's continue. We've been able to achieve everything in the Rails part, so we're going to be heading into the feeds now. So let's quickly do that next.
Yeah, if we switch to the feeds, and let me try to rerun this. So let's pull up the reference. So if you maybe go pull out the reference for the feeds, we are done with this one, which is the Rails. So I'm going to go ahead and close this one, and this is the feeds page. So now that the app is running, and you can see that we have our feeds that is blank, and then we have our Rails as well. Just want to quickly we can update something in the tabs, in the root of the tabs. So we can go back to the navigation host and add something here with automatic keep alive team. Right, so it actually helps to make our tabs to actually have kind of liveliness by keeping some state of what we actually have in the tab when we scroll out. So I'm going to add the override. I'm going to return through here. So the application is restarted. Okay guys, so let's quickly jump into that part. So we're going to the feeds tab now. I'm going to go ahead and collapse this one now. So let's first start tackling the first issue. The first issue we need to tackle is the row. If we pull out the reference again, you can see what we have. All right, so let's start building that up. So first of all, what we need to have here, this place is going to be kind of tricky and hard somehow, but I need you to understand what we're going to be doing bit by bit. Once you grab this part, building complex UI is going to be easy for you, whether you're using the generic views or you're using slavers, depending on what type of thing you're trying to achieve. So first of all, what I'm going to start with is a single child scroll view. Single child scroll. So single child scroll view is going to host a column. So it's going to hold a column, and a column with children, right? As usual. So the first child we need to have is a little bit of space. So I think if you remember in our const files, we have this space widget. And the space widget is a widget that returns a particular type of space depending on what we want to achieve. So if we go back to our utils, let me see if we have it there. You can see you have space widget down here. So let's quickly just grab it. So copy it out and go back to the feeds. So that's going to be the first child. But the space widget kind of takes kind of some parameters, right? It takes if it should be a full space and also if it's a kind of vertical space, because we could have vertical space or we could have horizontal space. So that's what we need to first of all find. So from what we have in the UI here, we need a vertical space down here, and also we might need it to be a full space because we want it to have up to like 16 value. All right, because when it's full space, we are giving it the default value of 16. When it's not, we're dividing that by 2, which is 8. All right, so let's go back there, and then we're going to make it. First of all, we're going to import. Then is full space. Let's add those parameters. So this full space is going to be true. This vertical is also going to be true because it's vertical space. We're not trying to do that for. We're not trying to space something that is in a kind of like in a horizontal row, right? All right, guys. So that being done, the next thing we need to do is to create this guy. If you look at the reference, we need to create this row. Simply going to be an icon. But this type of icon is going to be the other icon that we imported, if you remember, which is uni icon line. Icon line.facebook. Yeah, let's try to import. Times it takes a little bit while to import, so let's just do a manual import here. Import package. That's it. So let's quickly add cons to this padding. Alright, so we need to add the color to this icon. So we're going to do colors dot blue accent. Right guys, so the next thing is for us to get into the avatars. If you look at, we've been able to achieve this row. Alright, so if you check out what we have, you can see that we've achieved that now. So the next thing we need to do is to be able to get this very widget up. All right, so how do we do that? We need to create the next widget, which is going to really host this very object here, this very stories avatar, right? The stories avatar. And if you watch, you can see that the story avatar has another thumbnail inside. So let's quickly jump into that. In our project, just go back to the user avatar place. If you remember the last time I said we're going to be using that to extend this other type of avatar we have here for profiles. All right, so I'm going to collapse this, and being inside this place, I'm just going to define a new stateless widget. All right, so a new stateless widget here, I'm going to call it story avatar widget. All right, so story avatar widget is going to have few parameters, all right, that we're going to use to actually produce them. So the first one is going to be this kind of the story URL, all right, or story photo URL. So we're going to do a final string story photo URL, and then we're going to do final string profile photo URL. Right, the profile photo URL is going to be the profile of this user, the user that actually created the very story. So the next thing is going to be the height of the very the height and width of this very story, right? So just going to be let's make it a double height, final double width, and the final one is going to be a boolean that we're actually going to use to show if the story has been viewed. If you watch on what we have here in the UI, you can see that this one have a kind of stroke that shows that it's not viewed, while others doesn't really have that. So we're going to be able to determine that using this boolean flag is viewed. All right, so that would be that, and let's go ahead and add it here as a parameter to the constructor. I'm going to go ahead and format, and after that the next thing we need to do is to start defining the UI. All right, so let's give it a little time to run, and at least we can have a view of what we've actually done so far. So let's just give it a little time to run. Okay, so while the app is running right now, let's quickly get to the next phase of this particular user avatar. As you can see, we have nothing to show on the screen now because we've not really plugged that on the screen. So let's quickly complete the remaining part of this. So that's just what we have for this one, and we're going to go ahead and save, and let's try to bring it to the screen now to see what we have. So going back to the feeds tab screen where we have this guy up, let's quickly switch to that place. And before we do that, we need to, like I said, we need to make this guy a position widget, because we need to wrap from the UI what we have. Check the reference, you can see that we have a kind of image, two images, one is on top of each other. So we need to achieve that using a position widget. We've already defined this one of this, then we'll define this new one now. So you can see that this one is 55, 55, which is bigger. This one is 22, 22. Alright, so let's wrap this guy with position widget now. So wrap the widget, positioned, and what do we want it to be? We want it to be right on the screen, 4, then bottom. So let's go back to the simulator. Let's try to bring this guy up next. So we need to make it appear here just as we have. All right, let's quickly switch to the feeds tab screen now. All right, just after the row, the next thing we need to do is just to add a spacer. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste the spacer. Let's put a comma here. So the spacer this time around is full through and then vertical. Vertical is going to be through because we're actually spacing from a vertical angle now, not a horizontal space, right? So let's do that way. And after that, we're going to need to add container here, the essence of the container. But before I add the container, let's quickly walk through. Let's quickly walk through the stories. So the story, let's put in a size box. Size box. So this size box is gonna have a specific height, 55. It's gonna have a width. The width is just gonna be, want it to fill up to the screen. So we're gonna do double on infinity. Right, then we're going to do a child. So the child is going to be let's view.builder, right? We may not really need to do this view.builder, just a normal regular list view. So the list view with children. Right. Okay. So inside the children, let's put another spacer here just to have an initial space from the left. This widget is true. If we're going to make it true as well, but this time around going to be vertical. It's going to be false because we're actually spacing the horizontal direction, right? So what's the issue? Now the next thing to do is to we need to map through our user data right now, right? We need to map through the user data and then go through the stories that we have here and display the stories in the widget that we just designed, right? So let's quickly do that. Get back to the builds, feeds tab. Let's do, we're already inside the list view children, so this is just going to be part of the children now. So let's map through user data. User data dot stories. That's stories. Yes. Right. And then we're going to return story here, and the widget that we need to return is going to be the story avatar. And if you remember that we have some few items, so the first item is going to be just right from the story. Let's quickly add now. The story photo URL is going to be from inside the story instance here. So story photo, then profile photo is going to be the next one. So story profile photo. Right, I think there's also some other things we need to pass in, which is the height. So we're going to do 55. Then is viewed is also going to come from the story that is viewed, so that we actually render whether the story is viewed or not. Remember when we implemented that particular part, we gave a border to stories that are not viewed, and then the one that is viewed wouldn't have a border, so it's going to look like, you know, it's a real Facebook feed, just a real Facebook story. Something like this is going to have this border, meaning that it's not being viewed at all. Okay, so after that, let's just save this and see. So this guy also needs to have a feet. So box feet over as well. So let's work on why it's actually running away from the position. So we have the positioned. First of all, let's make this guy to really show up here. Let's add some direction to the list view. So scroll direction, I'm gonna give it axis dot the horizontal. Let's make shrink wrap to be true. For now, let's see how that looks. Okay, you can see that we have everything coming out. The only challenge we need to fix is let's add extra. Let's wrap the avatar with this with a padding widget. So let's wrap the padding. Then the padding is going to have agent set dot only right. It's going to have our default spacer. All over 2. So that's expected. And then right after that, so let's add another space widget here. This time this field is going to be false. Horizontal, whether it's vertical, it's going to also be false. So just to create this kind of additional space, so I think this is okay. Let's quickly check back on the position widget again. Yeah, right here, I want it to be somewhere around the right. So that's perfect now. So we have everything positioned by the right of the screen. Let's quickly, and if you check out now, you can see that we have this guy too that has the border. Check out these ones, you can see that they don't have border, meaning that this guy is not viewed. For us to confirm that this is really what we want, let's go ahead and tweak that in the data. So this story, the second story in the list of stories is viewed to be false. So I'm going to take this guy out and probably make it to happen on this one. So save. You can see automatically this is the guy that has a story that is not viewed. Alright, so I think we're making some headways. So just a quick recap on what we've done so far. This one, we worked on this story avatar, right, where we created the avatars to accept a particular stuff, accept the story avatar, then the profile of the user, right, and then a status of whether it's viewed or not. So, and we use the stack to achieve that because the stack helps us to put stuff on top of each other, right? So, having done that, we dynamically now pass the data to this guy from our data, which is just like actually an API response and stuff like that. Once that is done, we pull this data from here and then we iterated through it and render the UI. So we have this guy up. Alright, so just quick recap on this one. You can see that this is what we have so far. So I'm not sure there's something so different. Right. So the next thing we need to worry about now is this post feed. And first thing we're going to be doing is to first of all build the UI, the postcard or something that will hold this very post information. Once we're able to do that, since we're getting closer to the end of the video of the tutorial, if you've watched to this point now, don't forget to click on the like button just to help the algorithm to recommend this video to other people, to also help what we're doing. If you like what we're doing, don't forget to click on the like. It's very, very important to us in the channel, for the channel to be able to grow. Alright, so, and don't also forget to turn on the notification bell because I'm always going to be dropping very nice tutorials like this one. So let's quickly just understand how this flow is going to look like. If you look at what we have here, you can see the structures, right? So I think the best way to make a very nice UI is also first of all understand the structures and then know how to approach it. So you can see we have this kind of structures. Now have this one line from left to right, and then we also have this guy line on top of each other. So already you know that you need to have some kind of rows and also kind of columns and also some other kind of rows, So this is why I actually picked this particular tutorial, because I believe that by the end of the video you must have actually grabbed a lot of experiences in building complex UIs. Basically, getting your data from the internet or the API is not going to be an issue because you already know how to do that. But probably why we've not really done kind of real-time interaction with the API is because being able to combine complex UI like this with a real working API is kind of difficult because you have to have those data set up. But the idea is that once we're able to get this one, and then we're going to be touching other type of API request, then you can always know how to actually bind these data. So let's quickly start tackling this particular widget now. Once we've done it, just going to be repeated all through in the feeds, and we'll be able to display the story, the post, because we already have the post data here, right? So just for us to get the UI up, this is exactly what we're supposed to probably get from the API. Then we should be able to display them. Let's do that now. So let's quickly jump into folders. So in our widget, we're going to define a new widget. This new widget is going to be called a postcard. So let's define postcard. So this postcard is going to be a stateless widget. So Yeah, but I think it makes sense for us now to see what we've done so far, right? I think it makes sense for us to see that. So let's get this view. Let's get into the app to see what we have done so far. It's going to help us make a clearer decision. Let's quickly get this guy to the front. So let's go back to the feeds tab. So just outside of this view, we're gonna have a spacer. Space widget is gonna have fill through. It's gonna have vertical through as well. So that being done, let's go ahead and have a container here. This container is going to have height of 0.2. It's going to have a color black 26. So what this guy is supposed to do for us is just going to be like a horizontal rule, right? So you'll see that when we get it to the screen. So let's add another space widget between. So what we're trying to do is have a spacer, then a little bit of space before the postcard. So right now, let's go through, because we're actually in a container. So let's map through the list of posts that we have. So let's use this spread operator. Then we're going to go to user data. User data post, and then .map. Then we're going to return a postcard. Postcard is just what we started designing not too long ago. So we're going to import that. Let's make this guy to be a single post element. Alright. So now post is supposed to have some key attributes, right? So the first is going to be author name. Author name is going to be post from the post, then author, right? Next, it's going to be author avatar, which is going to come from the post as well. Author avatar. Next is going to be the post photo, right? No, because we have some like we have what we give it to be like a required attribute. So this is going to be post dot photo or post photo right now. So like these are the key things we want to show now. Let's save and see. Okay, there's something on the screen, but some things doesn't seem to be right. If you understand what I mean. So we need to go back and fix that. So even though we have everything on the screen, but the UI is not making sense yet. So let's go back postcard, start getting things right. So one thing we need to do is to look at the structure of the postcard and see what we actually doing wrong. Okay, how do we do that? Let's start from the top. So from the top here we have a column, have a column. Then we'll have the row. Try to probably collapse these guys. So right now we have 2 rows. So if you go back to the preview here, we have this row, this one, and then the last is supposed to be this one. So let's first of all drop down this. So we have an expanded that holds the avatar. Get expanded. So let's look at the expanded of the second row. Have flex value of 5. So the last one is not supposed to have a flex. Let's look at the guy working. It seems from the structure of what we have in the UI, right, we need to have some sort of expanded. This guy is supposed to expand up to this point, and then there's a row, all right, and then there's also another row here. So I think we need to wrap this guy with an expanded. So first of all, we'll have a column and a row. So under the children, we need to have expanded. It's expanded. I'm going to wrap it with another expanded. Alright. That we now have a row. Probably I could just do it from this children of the row. So let's quickly just do another row here. I'm going to take everything inside. Alright, so I'm going to take these 2 items. Let's take these 2 items into that. Take out the expanded. This is supposed to be the inner child of the. So let me just grab those 2 out. Start expanded. Expanded stopped here. I'm going to go ahead and cut it out now. So having this row that will hold, so I need to have expanded now. So this expanded is going to have child of row. Alright, the children is just going to be what I will now paste inside. Go ahead and format. So what we did was to have a column and a row. The row has an expanded. The expanded now has a row children. So this expanded here. This one has a flex of 1, so this one just having it here. So let's quickly just save and see. We run this and see what update we have. Let's do kind of cross up this alignment here. So this start. So that brings this guy there. Yeah, let's find out why the row is not. Why the row? Because we have 3 items there. So it must be that something is not, one is not positioned correctly. Just this other row. So yeah, we need to take it to the right place. So I'm gonna put one, this, and then put that down here. So that's what we've been missing. We actually pushed it down to the other rows, which was not the right structure. So let me walk you through that again. So we have this row down here is the first row, right, that holds these guys. Then it has children expanded. This expanded have also a row. The first row is this one. So I'm just going to collapse it a bit. So let's show you what I mean. So this first row is with the first expanded, has the icon, here's the avatar, has this text, which is also kind of column and a row, right? So I have a column that holds a row first, which is this first row with this guy. So let's give this guy space. Right. We have this one, then we have the below, which is the row, the next item in the row. So after the first row, we need a space here. The space is actually what separates this one with this one. Then picture 2 hours, this particular one, which is also a part of the column. Before we have another row, that row sits outside the expanded, flow to the right. So that's where we have this. Yeah, it's kind of complex structure somehow, but you just need to understand the expanded is very important because we needed expanded to fill up this place, right? While we actually sort out these other ones, and because we are using a lot of rows and columns, expanded comes in very, very handy. Okay, I think the next thing we need to do is to add the other missing items, which is the post now, and that has to be done in our, yeah, we stay in the avatar. So let's quickly just jump into it. We're going to add a space widget just below. So we need to add a space. Space widget here. Space widget is going to be a vertical, the full space, and then it's going to be vertical through. Next thing we need to do is to do a size box. So size box, the width of let's make it to fill the screen, so double.infinity, and the height, the height of 250. Yeah, that's going to be the height of the image, the post image. Now the child is going to be image.network, and then the image.network is going to have, so let's pass the image first. So I'm going to pass post photo URL here. So you can see that everything is showing up now, so you can go ahead and add the error builder right now. So error builder, context, going to return, just return a blank container here in case something goes wrong. Okay, so guys, you can see that this is really coming up a little bit, but there's still some works to be done. So our image is going to have a fit. So it's going to be box fit.cover. Yeah, that's making some sense. It seems we already have all that we need for the image part. Now the next thing we need to do is to add extra space, because we need a space below to be able to put the comment. Check out the preview again, you can see we have spaces. We also have a horizontal rule, and then before we have this comment section. So the hotspot that is running in this flow is this guy. So let's quickly bring that back. So we need to start with the space. The space is directly outside the avatar, outside the size box, right? So let's add another space widget. Still going to be true for the both because this is vertical spacing. Then we're going to have a rule just like we used to have. In your spare time, we could also probably just make this guy to be kind of a widget that you can reuse instead of us writing a container with a height of 0.6. We can call it horizontal rule, right? So the color is going to be colors 26. Let's save that and see if we have good space here. So you can see that we have a space below, but we still need more spacing. Spacing is one of the most sweetest things in making a good UI. You need to know where to perfectly use your spacing, and also make sure that your spacing is actually exact. That's why we're actually using some kind of constant values so that we don't mix it up. So after that container, we need another spacing. So just being lazy here, we just do a lot of copy and paste. And the final lap right now is building these particular comment sections. It's pretty gonna be simple in our opinion, because we'll have a straightforward thing. So we have extra job to do. That job is just going to be being able to build a widget that holds this type of information. So we're going to call it like a social widget, or kind of social action widget, right? That will hold these informations. So let's go ahead and first of all create that particular widget. Then we're going to come back and round up this UI in the home screen. So first of all, let's define those widgets that is going to form the shares, the likes, and the comments. So that's what we're going to do next. So let's quickly jump into our widget folder and define a new stateless widget that is going to hold that. So I'm going to call this widgets. So guys, that's it for this particular widget that we need to do the remaining part of the cards here, right? So remember that this particular cards is going to be in a row, right? So let's quickly do that next now. So after the space widget, let's quickly add a row. So this row is going to have children. And the children is just going to be all the stuff that we just defined now. Let's add some kind of spacing here using the main axis alignment. Main axis alignment, space around. So let's save and see. So basically you can see we actually been able to achieve exactly that. So if you compare that with the reference now, you could actually see that this is exactly what we have. So if you check it out, you can see what we have, the perfect alignment of the replica of what we actually intended to achieve. So guys, if you're still here, don't forget to click on the subscribe button if this is your first time, and if it's not your first time, don't forget to click on the like button. It's important for us to be able to actually keep continuing to create more videos, because of the algorithm have to be able to recommend that to other people so that the video can go reach other people that actually like that. That actually encourages us to keep creating more content. I also want to promise that I'm going to actually create more useful content. This one took a little bit time because of other constraints that I had at work, but I believe I should be able to drop something very nice again very soon. So if this is your first time, don't forget to share the video, comment, and then click on the subscribe button if this is your first time. And I'm going to see you guys on the next one.